from Enchanted Face and Body Art by Faerie Meadow. I'm here today on behalf of facepaintingtips.com. They've asked me to do a mermaid face painting tutorial, and I was very lucky this Christmas, and I got some wonderful mermaid duds made by some of my coworkers, and I thought I would play dress up just for the video. I hope you enjoy it. Today I will be using high density sponges, a couple different brushes that I'll show you in a few moments. This wonderful reptile print stencil available on facepaintingtips.com. This Prisma cake right here. This is the Iridescent Prisma cake. A Diamond FX palette with lots of rainbow colors. They're metallic. I'll be using the blue and the purple. Diamond FX white and Diamond FX metallic white and some ultra-fine translucent glitter. Okay, I'm going to get started by taking my Diamond FX metallic white and a high density sponge that's slightly damp, and I'm going to rub some regular white Diamond FX paint into my metallic white so that it's a little bit shimmery but still really stands out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start out by making some mermaid scales. So I'm going to do that by loading this sponge really well with a lot of color on it. Well, the color is white, but with a lot of paint on it, because you want your sponge to hold a lot of paint to really make the tapping, stippling paint that you're going to do with your stencil really stand out, because you don't want too much moisture in your sponge when you're using a stencil. Otherwise, all of these fine little edges, they won't show up, they'll run together. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to move my hair out of the way. I'm going to run some scales down my cheekbones and across the temple of my forehead. Now, I'm going to line this up straight with my nose line, with the skinny holes that are in the center going up and down. I'm going to press it against my face really gently, and I'm going to go ahead and tap. You don't want to tap in one place for too long because you'll lose the fine edges. I'm sort of just making an upside down V shape. Go ahead and leave it there for just a second, let it dry a little bit. Then you can go ahead and you can do it one more time once it's dried a little bit. That'll really give you a good pigment and a good solid color. I'm going to run this down a little bit more. I'm going to move my fingers and I'm going to do a little bit more over here. I want it to sort of fade towards the center of my nose area. I'm just looking in my mirror to make sure it's balanced. It's as balanced as I can make it, so I'm going to remove it. And there you're going to see some mermaid scales. They look kind of like reptile scales, and you can use this stencil for so many different things, but I'm going to be doing mermaid today. You can see that I've got a little bit right here. That's okay. We'll just wipe it right off in a few minutes. I'm going to go ahead and make some down my cheekbones now. Now I'm using this stencil to be a background, a base for an overall design that I'm going to create in a few minutes, and you're going to get a chance to see. When I'm using my stencils, I like to use them, there we go, to really highlight a design and make it have that wow factor, as opposed to making it be my focal point of my design. I'm going to do the same thing on this side by stippling, tapping up and down, bringing it up to all the same places. I brought my other one. Let it dry a little bit, and then you can add more. Pull that off. There we go. So you can see I've got it on both sides. I'm going to bring a little bit more up right here, just into the corners of my temples, just for fun. A little bit right there. I'm going to do a little bit on this side, even though it's pretty hidden by my mermaid headpiece in my hair. But just for balance. Alright, so we've got some mermaid scales going on, and as you can see, they're really standing out. They look very bold, so we're going to go ahead and add some color to this design. What I'm going to do is take another high density sponge that's slightly damp, and I'm going to load it up with the blue and the green and the purple colors on this Iridescent Prisma cake. Just rub it like this, back and forth, up and down, and you'll pick that color right up. See how good that looks? Just keep going, get it really on there. And then I'm going to put the purple on the outer edge of my eye. And I'm just tapping really gently, trying to keep it all on my eyelid. Just adding some really bold mermaid makeup. So you can see the blue, purple, and green right there. Flip your sponge over and do the same thing on the other side. You flip the sponge so that you can get the same colors in the same order, the green on the inside, the purple on the outside. All right, so you can see that really fast, colorful makeup. Now, I'm going to take a 3/4 inch square brush. This is where the brushes I mentioned earlier come in. And I'm going to load it with the same 3 colors on my Prisma cake, going up and down over the same colors over and over and over again until you work it all the way up to this metal part right here. Then, I'm going to come down from this area of my gills, or my scales, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to sort of curve and sweep downward and connect it to my mermaid eye makeup like that. Then flip your brush, connect the purple colors, and continue sweeping down to connect this to your mermaid eye makeup. You can flip it again, connecting the greens, bring it all the way down, and there you go. You can see what I've got right there. Now, it's okay if the edges don't look perfect. We're going to add some splashes, or the tips of waves, whatever you want to call it. I'll bring it out in just a few moments. I'm going to go ahead, reload my brush, and do the same sweeping paint movement on the other side. So there you can see my scales and my rainbow color eye makeup, and this area right here in the front. We're going to add a little bit more detail to this. Now, I'm going to take a number 3 round brush, hope you can see that, and I'm going to dip it into some white paint. This is just Diamond FX white. I'm going to make some long thin teardrops, which really remind me of white caps on the tops of waves. I'm going to do that starting at the edge of the green and then coming down and around my painting. There's one long thin teardrop. And just frequently reload your paint because you're painting on top of other nice bold colors and you want that white to really stand out. Diamond FX white is really great at staying bold and visible on top of other colors. So I've got 3 right there. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make some right down here to fade into my gills. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just like that. I'm going to go ahead and switch sides and do this to the other side. All right, so at this point, if you were pressed for time, you could stop, but I'm going to keep going and adding a little bit more to this design. I'm going to bring in a finer brush. This is a number 2 brush right here, number 2 round, and I'm just going to make some fun swirls using my Diamond FX white coming out from the bottom of my long thin teardrops that are down here. So I'm just going to come through, sweep around, and swirl like that. And another one here. Swirl just like that. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Then I'm going to make some swirls coming in towards the center of my scales, and we're going to make a little crown. Now, I'm going to wipe this off just by simply rubbing my finger, just a little bit of white paint that came off with my stencil. I'm going to come around here from the inside line of my eyebrow and make a swirl. There's one right there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Coming from right here on my eyebrow, up and swirling. So we've got 2 cute little swirls. Now we're going to make a seashell crown. And I'm going to do that right on top of my scales right here. Using this same 3/4 inch square brush and using the exact same colors that I used on my Prisma cake before. I just re-wetted my brush. When you're working with Prisma cakes and square brushes, you want to keep your brush very, very wet because you want nice, clean lines. It's a little different than using a sponge with Prisma cakes. I'm going to go ahead and make an upside down teardrop to create the background for my shell.
Told somebody else that said it was sea monsters.
So there's the center. And I'm going to make 2 little petals that are sideways angled teardrops coming off of this. So we've got 2 little ones coming there, and if you want, you can clean it up by just wiping and bringing it to a nice sharp point with just the tip of your finger, like so. So you can see that we've got 3 petals, one really big one in the middle, teardrops, whatever you'd like to call them. I'm going to fan that, let it dry, and I'm going to go back to this same number 3 round brush I was using earlier. This is what we're going to use to really make the seashell stand out and give it definition. Got this nice and wet. Here we go. We're going to start right here and try and keep it as balanced and centered as possible. It's a little difficult because I'm painting my own face. Start at the top. Apply pressure. Bring it down and lift away. So there's your first one. Then go ahead and make angular ones going down the side. So there's the one side of your seashell. And now I'm going to make the other side of my seashell. So there, I've got one nice long thin teardrop in the middle and 3 angular ones going down each side. Then I'm just going to make 2 little tiny petals, upside down angled teardrops, if you will, going towards the center. All right, and there's the bottom of the seashell. I'm going to go back to that smaller number 2 round brush, and I'm just going to make some last little details and some stars to make this whole thing pop. I'm going to make a few little long thin teardrops going into my crown. One here, one there, 1, 2. 2 little ones there. You can make some small ones on the outside if you like. Just like so. And now, because I'd like to add just a few more little scales to this to really finish the design, I'm going to go back to this wonderful stencil. I'm going to take another slightly damp sponge, going to get it a little more wet, and then I'm going to take my Diamond FX metallic purple that's on here. I'm going to load it up really good, and I'm going to touch a little blue on the sponge too. So I've got blue and purple on the same sponge. Then I'm going to go ahead and lay this on top of the colorful eye makeup that I have right here, and I'm going to add a few more little scales going onto my eyelid. So I'm pressing and tapping and stippling my paint ever so lightly and gently and bringing it down. Then you can go ahead and lift away, and you can see a few more scales right there. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I've got the skinny part of the stencil lined up on the purple stripe that's on my mermaid eye makeup. I'm going down into my eyelid and coming out and stippling the paint out. And then peel it away. I'm going to come up really close so you can see that. All that beautiful mermaid eye makeup on both sides. Lots of color. Now I'm going to bring in my stars, and we're going to be all done. In fact, I think I might just add a little touch of some mermaid scales right here with the purple. I think that might look really nice. Oh, I like that touch. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. See, you can be really versatile with these stencils. Wonderful ideas can pop into your head, and then you can really make them come to life with such ease. So I'm going to add my stars, and then I'll be all finished. I'm just using a number 2 round brush to make these stars. We can make some little dots to represent bubbles, just a few on the inside of the eyes. You don't need much more with this design. Now, if you'd like to, for a finishing touch, you can add a little bit of lipstick. Now, I am going to use this pink shimmery color here on the edge of my Diamond FX palette. This is a fun touch, but if you're working in a big event, it might be best to do this with a Q-tip where you can just swipe it once, put it on the person who's painting your painting's lips, and then dispose of it so your paints don't get mixed in. I'm using my very own paintbrush. There we go, and you can finish the whole thing off with some sparkles. If you'd like to outline and shade all of your long thin teardrops, you absolutely can. I really like how they look when they're white, so I'm going to go ahead and leave them just that way. So my to fix myself up. On behalf of facepaintingtips.com and myself, Faerie Meadow, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful afternoon. Goodbye.